World War I, often referred to as the Great War, witnessed the deployment of various unprecedented and devastating weapons that would change the future of warfare. Among these, chemical warfare, particularly gas attacks, stands out as one of the most horrifying and insidious tactics employed during the conflict. The use of poisonous gases in warfare was not a novel concept, with historical instances dating back to ancient times. However, it was during World War I that chemical warfare reached unprecedented levels of sophistication and brutality. The first large-scale use of toxic gas occurred on April 22, 1915, when the Germans released chlorine gas near Ypres, Belgium. The gas was devastating to those unfortunate enough to get caught up in it, as not only did they not fully understand what was happening, but also the fact that this was the first time that chemicals had been used as weapons, so no one was prepared. No gas masks or any other means of defense. The best they could do was put damp clothing over their mouth and nose, which, as you could imagine, did not help much. This marked the beginning of a gruesome chapter in modern warfare. At the Second Battle of Ypres, German chemists had tested a method of releasing chlorine gas from pressurized cylinders, and thousands of French Algerian troops were smothered in a ghostly green cloud of chlorine. With no protection, many died from the agonies of suffocation. Various types of gases were employed by different nations during the Great War, each with its own set of devastating effects. Chlorine gas was the first to be used, causing respiratory failure and drowning its victims in their own fluids. Mustard gas, introduced later in the conflict, was particularly notorious for its delayed onset of symptoms, leading to a prolonged and excruciating death. Phosgene, another deadly agent, attacked the respiratory system with a delayed effect, making it challenging for soldiers to seek timely medical attention. The use of gas in World War I had a profound and chilling impact on both military personnel and civilians. Soldiers faced the terror of sudden gas attacks that often left them with minimal protection. Gas masks, initially rudimentary and uncomfortable, evolved over time to mitigate the impact of these attacks. Nevertheless, the psychological trauma inflicted by the fear of gas attacks persisted. Gas attacks not only affected the physical well-being of the victims, but also left lasting psychological scars. The sight of comrades succumbing to the toxic clouds and the fear of an invisible enemy added a new dimension to the already harrowing experience of warfare. Civilians living in close proximity to the front lines were not spared from the horrors of gas attacks, further blurring the distinction between the battlefield and home front. At the start of the war, defense against gas attacks was almost non-existent. Why prepare for something you have no idea is going to happen? However, as these attacks became more and more common, the implementation of countermeasures were taken. The early days of defense were primitive. Cotton face pads soaked in bicarbonate of soda were issued to troops in 1915, but by 1918 filter respirators using charcoal or chemicals to neutralize the gas were common. By the end of the war, many soldiers, especially on the front lines, were issued gas masks for the all-too-familiar threat of a gas attack. The devastating impact of gas attacks prompted an international outcry, leading to efforts to regulate the use of chemical weapons. The Geneva Protocol of 1925 prohibited the use of chemical and biological weapons in warfare. Despite these diplomatic endeavors, subsequent conflicts have witnessed sporadic instances of chemical weapon use, underscoring the challenges in enforcing such agreements. The legacy of gas attacks in World War I endures in the collective memory of humanity as a stark reminder of the brutality that can unfold during times of war. The suffering inflicted by chemical weapons has influenced subsequent international efforts to curb their use and has shaped discussions on the ethics of warfare. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the History Forum YouTube channel.